I think it's pretty cool that Thijs is still competing at the highest level after doing so well at the top for so many years now. One of the longest still competing players we have had with some great success there, and he's going to be going up against Viper, who's been doing so well this season as well. He is going to have his Demon Hunter banned out and have this strange non-warrior lineup with Hunter, Mage, and Rogue left over, going up against Thijs's Warrior, Demon Hunter, and Rogue, and that Druid being banned out. What do you think of that, Sol? Because Druid, again, a deck a lot of people are talking about. Half the people say it's trash, but then half the pros are submitting it. So I don't know what to think anymore, Subtle, but it's deserving a ban apparently here in Viper's view.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this has happened once already, and I didn't really understand it then. Viper was kind of talking about his lineup on Twitter earlier today. He said he went for the lineup that he just thought was the most untargetable. He didn't really want to do any of the expected things because he thought then there was a good chance he would run into one of the players who was targeting that lineup because it was expected. So certainly, if his goal was to do something unexpected, he's achieved that. No one was expecting Archmage, Antonidas, Mage, no Warrior, Ban, Druid lineup. Like, congratulations, you've nailed it. No one had the read on that. Whether or not it's good remains to be seen. And honestly, Viper had a pretty shaky looking moment, and his lineup looked pretty shaky looking in certain places as well yesterday, as he completely roped out in his match against RDU, just straight up missing playing two cards that would have won him the game in that position, arguably. And then he really wasn't able to recover from that point. But he see Grizzled Wizard as well, a card that I haven't even got to mention yet in his Highlander Hunter. This is one of the most off-the-wall lineups that we have seen for quite some time in Grandmasters.
It is. It's the double whammy, isn't it, from Viper, really, where we, or at least I expect to see the odd, interesting tech choice in almost any deck he submits, really. We even see in his Rogue, he has that Alex Straza at the top end there, just to help out with some of the extra healing some decks have at the moment. But really, he is just using these a combination of crazy tech choices as well as a very strange approach to the lineup. So we'll see how that pays off, whereas, wow, I mean, Thijs gets to play Warrior, Demon Hunter, Rogue, and not only does he have a strong lineup to play out, his builds look incredible, honestly. It's the egg version of the Warrior, which a lot of pros have kind of circled back to, saying it's just the best version. The Demon Hunter looks very well built, as far as I can see. The double Vulpera in there, the sidekicks, of course, and a couple of other choices. Just the one Silas Watcher seems fine. But then Thijs also has the Questing Adventurers in his Rogue, a build I'm getting more and more of a fan of. I was sat playing some of those that deck this morning. I'm like, yeah, deck's pretty good. Sometimes questions just win you games. It's pretty sick. So Thijs, for me, just gets to play like a powerhouse selection of decks and classes right now in this matchup. So I'm feeling pretty confident for Thijs' chances of just securing himself into Grandmasters Season 4.
And I do like the Egg Warrior build currently. I've been through weeks where it was Priest expectations, where I was talking about Greenskin, how it should have been Greenskin Warrior instead for a lot of players. I think in this case, Egg Warrior is the perfect middle ground, because as long as you're playing Eggs and Terran, you're still favored against Quest Warlock, most likely, without having to resort to the outright Wrench Caliber package, right? To be able to get that done, which then loses you more percentage in other matchups, arguably, than Terran and Eggs would. So I think, it's the happy medium. Right now, the porridge is the exact right temperature when it comes to breaking a few eggs here and putting them in your deck alongside a Terran.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see how this one plays out. I'm just glancing over at Viper's lists overall, and he is running a lot of oozes as well. I think he's running ooze in every list but the Hunter. So he has that in his Demon Hunter, his Rogue, and his Mage. Mage a bit more of a staple, of course. So he's definitely geared to take on these three classes that, guess what, all have weapons. But it's just whether it's good enough. And even though I do question Mage a lot, he has seemingly been getting wins with the Mage and doing all right with it. So I don't know. I think the lineups look so different, it's hard to actually compare them. But for me, I think at points you've got to accept that you just can't argue with Thijs just getting to play the three super powerful decks.
Yeah, and of course the other thing that needs to be addressed is that yesterday Viper's match was against RDU, and now it's against Thijs, who are of course G2 teammates, prepped together for most weeks as far as I'm aware, and it seems like that's the case here because, again, the lineups are identical as far as I can tell to what we saw. Same questing Rogue, same Druid, and then same Warrior with the eggs alongside that as well. So it really does look like Viper has a run back on a series that maybe he should have won, arguably, yesterday if it wasn't for that catastrophic mistake with the rope at the end.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, whether, we can say, oh, he just would have won that game if he, finished the turn or whatever, but it would have been a lot better outcome regardless. It would have looked a lot closer at that point, so we'll see how it plays out. I believe the players are just getting ready to get into their game, but I'm just super interested to see how this one works out, because Vipers not only, again, just playing the stranger lineup, but with so many different tech cards, is it just going to be a whiff? And I'm still waiting to work out what this Grizzled Wizard is for. It is called that, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, I just had to double check the name, because again, I could see the idea of it if you told me, okay, you're just only going to face Demon Hunter. I'd be like, okay, that card, I can see it. Anything else, it's like, no, I want my Hunter hero power. It's well good. It deals 2 damage to face every turn. So it's going to be an interesting choice just to see how it plays out, or if it actually more often than not ends up just being a 2-mana 3/2 that it's just an extra 2-drop.
Yeah. Steal the second metamorphosis charge, use it up, give it back, right? Like that actually seems pretty powerful, but outside of that, I await Viper's genius. Let's put it that way. He showed us before with the single copy of Togwaggle's scheme in Rogue, exactly. Right. He had a master plan all along, and totally gave us one of probably the coolest endings to any game in Grandmasters so far, with that Infinite Kronks combo. So we will await his genius to reveal itself with the Grizzled Wizard.
Well, let's get into it. It's going to be Demon Hunter versus Mage here. Viper, of course, on that Mage. Thijs kicking things off with the Demon Hunter. And just a quick breakdown here. Again, I did mention earlier, but Demon Hunter, pretty standard. We're not going to see any mana burns unless they're discovered from Vulpera Scoundrel. But yeah, pretty much heavy 2-of list of everything. Just the one Sightless Watcher in there as a... I don't want to say card draw, but it's kind of card draw, is the Sightless Watcher. Oh, wow. It's going to be one of those games as we see the starting package here of Dragoncaster, box, and the dragon to proc it with, along with the coin.
Yes, the Samuel Sow hand.
And nearly spat my drink out, so please. Picked the bad time to take a sip of my little beverage. Satyr, it's just the on-curve play if he wants that for next turn. Already has a Warglaves in hand. Maybe it's just Skull just to get it in the hand. But his hand is so big here, mana cost-wise, right? Like, Thijs' hand doesn't really do anything for a fair few turns.
Right, and that's the problem. Like, is Satyr Overseer the on-curve play? Because if you don't have Twin Slice, it's kind of a 4-drop, right?
I like to speak in a technically true statement, Subtle. So in that world, it is an on-curve play. But I fully understand your point, yeah. Without being able to combo it, and obviously, because it's the Sightless Watcher, it's not like Thijs can rely on drawing a Twin Slice next turn or this turn, because he knows what he's going to draw. It's the Satyr. So he did pick it, and honestly, I think if you're picking it, you're probably just playing it.
I think having just seen the Arcane Breath on the previous turn, you probably just drop it down, because how does it get removed? And there's a good chance that, like, based on the remainder of your deck, you're just going to draw something for 3 or less on the next turn to be able to weave that in with hero power, because you've drawn so many of your expensive cards already.
Yeah, I mean, I like dropping it down, as you said. The Breath at least removes one pretty hefty punish there. And now Viper's going to have to make a decision. Does he want to get this Bone Wraith out to try and stop this Satyr going wild? If he does, then that's going to cost him the coin, which is a big deal considering he has Reno in hand. He has the Dragoncaster box play as well if he wanted it.
What to do?
He could also Dragoncaster Deep Freeze, by the way. He doesn't have to box, but I'm so used to playing against Mage on ladder where it's just always box. What's really going to impress me is if it's an Altruis on curve Sol. that's when things start getting really spicy.
Dude, imagine just curving out, just getting them 4-2. on turn 3, no value, and then you just skip the value again just to curve out with another minion.
4-2 is just bigger than a 2-2, so what are you on about? It's just a better play.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, good news for Thijs.
Yeah, this is kind of what I was talking about, though. Right? This outcome was so likely based on the draws you've seen so far, right? That you were just going to get a minion for 3 or less that you can play, and then you just fit that in with the hero power to actually generate your first reasonable board of the game.
A small part of me did want to see Metamorphosis drawn there, just to see if Thijs would have Altruist or not.
Job's done. We're waiting.
Still, though, pretty threatening amount of damage here on board for Thijs and Viper. Still a little bit away from being able to coin out the big power plays, but that Frost Nova might just help tick him over unless he wants to just sacrifice the Bone Wraith into this. It's kind of an interesting play, isn't it? Because if you play the Bone Wraith looks fine, but then you've used a Bone Wraith. Whereas the Nova, again, like, it's good and can be good late game, but I think once you start getting to mid to late game against Demon Hunter, a lot of it is about their damage from hand and not necessarily board focus. So I think I do actually like this, because the Bone Wraith is so good against the weapon as well, right?
Yeah, there was very little danger there of Thijs generating any kind of board that couldn't get renoed.
We're gonna have some fun.
I think Thijs' maximum development there was Frozen Shadow Weaver plus hero power, which still would have left exactly 10 health in play. Beaming Sidekick could have done a number on Viper's plans, but you've pretty clearly been shown that Thijs does not have Beaming Sidekick in hand right now from the way this early game curve has worked.
And here's the question. Does Thijs ever just say, I have a ton of damage, let's start killing him, and just go hero power Glavebound face, and then do the same the turn after?
Yeah, I think he might do it, and I think he might then just immediately get shut down by Deep Freeze. He gets Deep Frozen in the face. If he gets Deep Frozen in the face, he just never gets to attack again this game.
Our enemies will fall.
Wow, this Reno did some work, didn't it?
Playing the Gladebound here does give him some security against Dragoncaster Deep Freeze, at least, or Dragoncaster Power of Creation, since he actually has the big minion in play. But it's not looking great for him.
I'm waiting for the box. Imagine, just
You
ignore the Deep
never
Freeze and
box.
just jam box and be like, this'll do it!
Well, actually gets the minion frozen as well.
I think after seeing a Gladebound and only one charge on the weapon, is this just reasonable?
Well, he also protects his 2 water elementals more heavily this way by freezing the minion. So that means by allowing Thijs to attack this one turn, Viper can probably lock him out of attacking ever again for the rest of the game.
That's it, right? And also, if Thijs tries to clear the elementals off with his weapon, well, but there's a slight problem with that. You hit it once, and then you're frozen!
Yeah.
So yeah, really nice play there from Viper.
Demons. Demons.
It's weird, right? Because in a roundabout way, does this play, especially with Thijs' hand now with the addition of the Cane, just suggest that Thijs should just go face anyway? Get the 2 Warglaves down, put the damage to face, pushes 8 now, puts his opponent to 9. He has the 2 minions that directly challenge the minions on board, or at least 2 of the minions on board, and still has the Cane and a weapon and stuff next to him.
Our enemies will fall.
Trade, okay. But now, even with just Ray of Frosts and a ping, this is looking a little bit rough here for Thijs.
What to do?
Maybe even just Bone Wraith, double Ray of Frost. Probably looks pretty good. Can go face with one elemental and trade with the other one.
What to do? What to do?
Yeah, I can see that.
And then next turn, just gonna double check
Runs out on me.
Viper's mage list, but he does not run a blizzard, so he's not going to be able to go for the Tortolan blizzard play. Of course, he has a box in hand, which means that he can't get that either. So he's looking at really the power of creation. There's rolling fireball, and there's secret. There's not really a lot of options here for him to Tortolan into that are going to help him too much, honestly.
Imagine being able to attack with anything in a game of Hearthstone, Raven.
It's okay, you just freeze the minions that freeze you, so then they can't freeze you again.
Yeah, and then
Demons.
the other one.
Demons.
I mean, I actually think at this point, honestly, just freezing one of them, maybe you even just freeze the Twilight Drake, and then just try go face with the Cane, and just hope that you can draw stuff for Altruis to deal damage from hand to make up some of the gap. It sounds really bad, but
or a metamorphosis off the top as well.
Yeah,
kind of plays to that plan as well.
Because the problem is, that sounds so, just go face and hope, but like, how is Thijs killing these elementals, right? I think if he tries to kill the elementals, he's just going to lose. And see now, both Ray of Frost's used up. Well, if Viper starts trading into these with his own minions, then he's going to start losing the water elementals himself. So I do like the play there, if Thijs chooses to just go face.
Hide behind your servants.
Yeah, I like this.
Still find
Because also, Viper only being on 8 health, I mean, Mage isn't really known for its healing. So a lot of this damage is going to stick around for quite a while. Oh, never mind. Just create a weird issue, though, because now Viper can only freeze so many things.
Yep.
And if this Cane stays up, well, this Kartuk defender's not going to get anything done.
Yeah, and if the Cane wants to be killed, the face can't be frozen.
Right.
Also means that you can't take care of either of the 6/4s, which is probably an even bigger issue.
Is it ever like Deep Freeze a 6/4? Double trade into Cane? Ugh.
Tortolan Pilgrim into... Yeah, I don't see it. He doesn't play Blizzard.
It would have to
can't hit that.
be. It would have to be Power of Creation in, and it auto picks obviously into like the taunts, wouldn't it?
Into Kartuk defenders, yeah.
Yeah. Or arguably safeguards.
What to do?
Yeah, safeguards, Sunwalkers, something.
Yeah, he has to just take the power off the board now and just say, well, if I'm not putting a taunt up, I'm not going to bother trading into Cane. It's actually one of the lowest power minions.
Frozen Shadow Weaver again?
So he can deal 8.
You've got to Altruis this turn, haven't you? I think this is just your last push.
Yeah, that's the 8, right?
Yeah. No, I'm agreeing with you, Raven.
Okay,
Don't be so
okay.
insecure.
I'm not generally insecure. I think it's just I just always assume you specifically
It's
just
just me.
disagree with me.
Yeah.
What a weird game. Freeze Mage versus Freeze Demon Hunter.
It's just gotta be, hasn't it? You clear up one of the water elementals, you can freeze another threat, you push maximum damage to face. You saw Viper was struggling last turn to be able to react to this board state. He doesn't have amazing Reno mana just yet.
And you go wider, which keeps the struggle up for, what Viper was struggling with last turn, right?
In the shadow.
Put some threats on the board. It's not going for it, though.
He's gonna hold.
Can he even replay the weapon? Oh!
Which is very interesting because just Altruis playable card plus the Umberwing next turn would be the 4 damage that he needs. But I guess he's just assuming yet again that his face is going to get frozen and he won't be able to be doing that extra damage with the weapon and his hero power.
What to do?
I should say, he's assuming in worlds where he loses that his face is going to get frozen.
Right.
If his face doesn't get frozen, he's probably pretty happy anyway.
So if Viper puts himself up to 15, he can freeze or kill 3 of these minions, which then leaves 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus hero power 8. Would only leave 8 down. But he would lose a lot of his elementals in the process.
Yep.
Time runs out on me.
Just to kill the Kane in order to play the Kartut Defender.
Oh!
Oh!
There it is. And that was the slight issue. That's one of the cards he didn't play around by Alexin himself. Going to take the damage there, finish it off. He couldn't kill the Kartut off himself anyway, so there's nothing Viper could have done to heal out the range outside of that Alexstrasza. But the meta was one of the cards that Thijs was probably considering for many turns, honestly, just with even just the aggro plan in general, right? You've always got to say, well, if I draw meta, sometimes you just win if you're going to be able to push that much damage early on. So good game there for Thijs. And just a reminder again, if Thijs does win this match, he puts himself out of the relegation zone. So he is safe. So there's a lot riding on this win, a lot riding on every single match today, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Every single match has massive implications for automatic relegation in the case of Division B, or the relegation bracket in Division A, as we're going to see Hunter A scrambling against Swids later on to try and secure himself at least a certain future in Grandmasters. But right now, as Raven laid out, Thijs has everything on the line, but he does have it in his own hands. A win here would put him safe from automatic relegation.
Yep, the best spot to be in as possible for Thijs. But we are going to go to a quick break while we set up our game number 2. So don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back with some more Hearthstone. We are back and ready to continue our match between Thijs and Viper. Thijs currently leading the way, 1-0, getting a win with his Demon Hunter over Viper's Mage, but there's still plenty more of this series to be played out. We are going to see if Viper's strange lineup this week is going to get the job done, or if Thijs is going to secure himself in Grandmasters with a win.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a ton on the line for Thijs in this series as we keep going into, because his fate is very much in his own hands. But there are further reaching implications as well based on the matchup that has already happened with Pavel picking up a victory as well. That actually makes Thijs' situation a lot more dire. And try as we might, we can't actually find a scenario where Thijs would survive with a loss here. So it seems like it's even more do or die now, possibly, for Thijs than we even thought initially, as this is no longer just in his own hands where he can be safe if he wins. It's also possibly in his own hands where he is just auto-relegated if he loses.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sure he's aware of the outcomes as well, but I think it would be important just for all the players, especially today, to just go in with the mindset of win your match, because that's what he had to do in the first place as well. If he wins, he was safe, and still, if he wins, he's doing okay, whereas if he loses, as you mentioned, he's in a little bit more trouble than he was a little bit earlier today, depending on the outcome. But for now, we are going to continue with this, and Thijs does have Rogue and Warrior left to go up against Viper's lineup, so if there's ever a series you're going to feel comfortable taking a victory in for Thijs, I think it's this one, just based on what he has to play.
Yeah, the questing rogue has looked solid so far from what we've seen. It does seem a little bit vulnerable still to those rogue draws that we see, where you just end up with a handful of lackeys and you're not hitting any of the power cards, because if you hit none of them, you do run into a problem. But the thing is with the deck is that one begets another, right? As soon as you get your Togwaggle off, well, that's 3 extra cards in your hands. You're then so much closer to your Galakron and your Kronks and all the other powerful things that you want to be doing. But if you're completely starved of all of them, sometimes the deck can fall a little bit flat on its face, and it's hard to get any value out of an Edwin or a questing adventurer if you are sat in the position where you don't really have the hand size to be popping off with it.
We are going to see Viper cue his mage in once again. Thijs, though, on this warrior, and again, just a reminder, this is the egg warrior, so it has double serpent egg in there. It has the Terran Gore Fiend to help, eat up those minions and death rattle them back out again later. But other than that, it's the 1-core Chron Elite, the double Blood Brute, of course, and just the Grom Hellscream at the top. What this doesn't have is the 8-mana Deathwing. It does not have a Captain Greenskin either. Some of the cards we do see frequently in Pain Warrior builds.
Right. Viper snatches up that ooze nice and early, though. It's going to be a very big deal here, especially based on Thijs' hand. That anchor, I talk about routes to Risky Skipper a lot with this deck and how you need to rely on them in certain positions, and this is a hand that certainly wants a route to Risky Skipper right now with Bomb Wrangler and Battle Rage currently in hand, and that anchor is Thijs' route to Skipper right now, and it's going to get shut down by that ooze if it does not draw it immediately.
I do, as the warrior, really enjoy having Bomb Wrangler against Mage so early on, because it just doesn't really get dealt with, does it? Not in a nice way, anyway. So the only times it struggles if it gets frozen out, but if your opponent's spending mana and just freezing a Bomb Wrangler this early in the game, then fine. But if it isn't frozen out, it's not like it can be pinged down that without much of a punish. Now there's options for potentially buffing it and pushing some damage with it. With an Inner Rage draw, for example, would cause some huge issues for Viper. So I just think it's one of the really good minions in this matchup.
Right.
I wonder.
This is one of those weird issues, isn't it? Viper does have a card that contests this Bomb Wrangler, but that card also kills a weapon. Tough call. And especially because that was played instead of a Corsair Cache. It's as unlikely that Thijs has a weapon as possible, right?
Sure. No, it's a good point. I still think playing Acidic Swamp Ooze is deeply illegal here. Wow. Viper disagrees. Thijs gives the nod. Now he's just going to get the opportunity to kill an Acidic Swamp Ooze with an anchor.
Yeah, it looks really bad on the surface, right? But the problem is, with his hand, this Bomb Wrangler's just going to do 1,000,000 damage to him. So I wonder if he just had to take the chance, because outside of a weapon, and I guess there's War Maul Challenger as well, there aren't tons of ways for this ooze to get dealt with that early in the game. But there are ways, so it was definitely a risk. It's just, Viper's just going to get beaten up by a Bomb Wrangler now.
Yep. That's true. Yeah, there's 3 weapons. There's War Maul Challenger. There's even, you could factor in Terran to that, potentially, where... You know, if Terran were to come down on the next turn with or without an Inner Rage, your Acidic Swamp Ooze really isn't doing a great deal.
I think it's a really tough call. I think it looks like a lot worse of a decision than it actually was, just because of how hard it obviously got punished.
Yeah.
But like I said, just watch this Bomb Wrangler go.
Might be the Terran turn, depending on what comes out here.
Ultimate risky skipper. It's even bigger.
I must choose.
Alright, Tyson's going to read it.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely to be the Terran, because I think what Thijs wants to do now is set up for a Battle Rage next turn.
That's fair. His hand is still quite full, and his Battle Rage is going to be enormous. You can manipulate that in certain ways, obviously, to like draw 1 less card deliberately if you need to. He's not going to be able to get off like a 6-card Battle Rage here, which is certainly possible with the hand that he has. Yeah, I think with the way the early game's gone, greeting the Terran is probably fine. He can just continue developing threats.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay.
What to do? What to do?
I'm a little bit surprised. I think if I was Viper, I would have just dumped the Malagos there.
Does that do anything? There's a 2-8
No,
against this board?
no, but Viper runs Conjurer's Call in, so Viper has to consider that, right?
That's true, yeah. Yeah.
And does it do less than Ping Face Pass?
Well, no, objectively not, no. A 2-8
And it can help
certainly
deal
does
some
more.
damage to help with the Reno next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Or it can be Conjurer's Called, you know, depending on how Viper's feeling about the Reno.
I mean, as long as
know,
there's a War Maul Challenger on board, I think you can just forget about the Reno plan for now.
Right. I just think it was something versus Ping Pass. Like, when's this Malagos going to actually get played? If, obviously, Viper had like a Dragon Caster in hand, that's a completely different conversation. I don't think Viper's saying, oh, I'll save this in case I draw Dragon Caster exactly.
Who am I to tell Thijs what to do? He can 6-card Battle Rage all he wants!
Yeah, looks like a big Battle Rage to me, so...
Yeah.
My hand is full.
And he didn't get an Inner Rage either, so he's going to burn again next turn.
Yep. Yeah, chances of only seeing 1 burn there were pretty high. Like you said, if he just picks up an Inner Rage, he can dump that and leave his hand slot open for the next turn, but gets a bit unlucky there, doesn't hit either. But now Grom in hand, Cork in hand, Rampage in hand, Bloodsworn in hand. Bombs in play with Terran in hand as well. That just represents extra damage as well.
We're gonna have some fun.
Jeez. Is this the worst Reno the Relicologist you have ever seen, Raven?
Yes, because you specified his full title. I was going to say, no, I've seen people play Reno from the old days when it just wasn't active and they thought it was, and then they died. But yes, this is the worst version of this Reno I've seen in a very long time, if not ever.
So how's your day going?
I know, yeah, we might eventually see this turn end. I just, honestly, while we've got time...
Yeah.
What was the reason for not playing the Malagos there? I feel like at worst it's a 2-8 to start killing some minions.
I mean...
Or at least lowering the health on board.
You know, I guess pretty obviously the answer is he felt like he needed the value of the Malagos spell in order to swing his way back into this game. Like, he needed to draw a dragon over the next couple of turns and then use the Malagos spell to be able to come back into it, but... he just had a very poor opening hand. I think the game really hinged on that decision of whether he wanted to contest the Bomb Wrangler or not, or wait for the use. As soon as he committed to that line, be it rightly or wrongly, I'm going to sit on the fence on this one because Raven did make a compelling argument, as much as I do disagree with it on the surface. But I think the one thing that is safe to say is I think that's probably decided the outcome of this game.
Yeah. Well, Viper down to 11. He does have Nova to buy some time, but the problem is time is ticking towards that Grom, and with only 12 cards left, Thijs is getting progressively closer to those inner rages as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I wonder if that fortifies the point of the ooze as well, because Viper is running a sticky finger, so he's actually running double weapon removal, plus a Zephyrus, obviously.
Sure.
Viper there using the Ray of Frost, although they can do damage with the Nova, this buys in multiple turns of stall and still gets to ping off that, or at least start pinging off that Armor Smith. God, it's so funny just that, like, an inner rage at multiple points in this game would have just been insane for Thijs, and he just cannot find it. Inner rage would be lethal that turn. Inner rage earlier on with a Bomb Wrangler or with a Terran would be huge. Like, it's so many turns.
Inner Rage is still lethal next turn as well.
Yep,
It will continue to be so for the rest of the game.
Yep.
It's just a good card. Dragon in hand now for the Malagos, based on the Alexstrasza from the last turn. It's looking like it might just have to be a straight-up Frost Nova turn here. He can pair that with the Kobold Sticky Finger to remove that 3 damage as well, because otherwise he is just dead straight up to Korkron on its own. No boards? Actually, no, there is board space, right?
Wait,
that's just
what?
lethal. Risky Skipper, Korkron, to get the Korkron damage.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, because the AoE will clear the board off.
The AoE will clear him 2 spots, so he has 3 spots in total, which is what he needs.
And he has the exact mana. I think Thijs has got there.
Yep.
If he's playing the Skipper, then he's got lethal.
Yep.
Just take a second just to stare at, because, you know, you're generally used to a frozen board not going away. But yeah, Thijs is going Skipper Korkron. I think he sees it. Thijs has done this enough times.
Your flaws are
But I do like him taking his time. There are points where with this deck, sometimes you don't consider all the implications of Skipper, and suddenly the minion you wanted to use dies, and you're like, oh no, what just happened? But Thijs going to take the victory with his warrior there over Viper. Viper's mage struggling once again, and almost, like you said, after that ooze turn, felt like Viper didn't really get to play the game for the majority of it there, just taking hit after hit, and Thijs just drawing all the cards in the world and cleaning that one up. But again, Thijs, just on surface level, has been left with such a powerful set of decks, Demon Hunter, Warrior, and now he has his Rogue as well. It just looks hard for Viper to win against this. Thijs has got 3 goes with this Rogue, and he has the questing list, which I think is going to look very, very good versus Viper's lineup.
Yeah, it might well do. And I think, you know, quibbles over ooze or not aside, I think that's more, you know, the bigger question mark I have this week for Viper is just the macro line of the lineup that he's brought, just being filled out of choice with, you know, kind of tier 2 decks because he feels like he doesn't want to get targeted by other things, which I think is an unusual strategy to say the least. But yeah, very nicely done from Thijs' side. Again, with the pressure on him, he is the one player out of any in this tournament that I would expect to be able to just laugh off the pressure because, you know, firstly, he's just such a positive guy and he knows that, you know, in the grand scheme of things, he's happy and he's healthy and he's got a great stream and I'm sure that's how he's going to look at things even if he does end up getting relegated. But secondly, he just has such an incredible competitive pedigree of having to play in high pressure situations that, as you said, executed very well at the end. You know, it took me a second to go, oh, it's lethal. No, it isn't. Wait, yes, it is because he plays his own board space. So, you know, Thijs going through that exact same thought process and doing it a bit slower because he's the player in the hot seat right now. Yeah, like, yeah, absolutely. Take your time.
Never a problem. But yeah, I do agree. Like, although I'm sure players with tons of experience, you still get nervous over matches. There's still that moment, when you sit down ready to play. But Thijs has just been in, so many high-level, top ends of tournaments, whether he's winning them or in finals or whatever, of some of the biggest tournaments, if not the biggest tournaments in the world. And he's been doing it for years. So, yeah, I think if there's anyone who's not going to get overly flustered, it's probably Thijs right now. Viper going for the mage once again, though. Just saying, well, got to win with it. May as well queue it one more time and see what happens. Thijs, on the other hand, with this rogue, I did mention it is the quest adventurer. And are you more on board with the secret package because of the quest adventurer, Soto?
Am I more on board with the secret package because of the questing adventure? Yeah, I think so. I think that probably makes sense. There's more ways in this version of the deck to, reliably draw cards, I guess I'd say, with dirty tricks. You're playing two copies of
prep
that
as well.
Yeah, the cheeky prep that you get in there as well, which goes alongside secrets very nicely because they all cost 2, and 2-cost spells is not really something that Rogue has had access to in great hordes. We've seen like Shiv get played in decks just so you have something that's a properly efficient prep target since the nerf. So yeah, I think if you want to fit questing adventurers in, the secret list probably does make more sense than the stealth. Okay.
I just wondered if that was enough to persuade you.
Well, they also cut Bamboozle, which I'm more on board with because that card sucks. So I mean, I'm on board now.
I think I'm going to cut one quest adventure for a Bamboozle.
Yeah. Imagine playing Bamboozle in your questing adventurer Edwin deck. Yeah. Like, what are you doing?
They'll never expect it.
That's true. If one thing's certain in that scenario, your secrets would be a secret. They would be surprised.
And you would bamboozle your opponent.
Yeah.
In every way of the word. So far now, Viper does have another extremely high cost hand here. With that Reno, the box in hand. Although Rolling Fireball does get a fairly consistent job done versus Rogue. Maybe excluding an incredibly early questing or Van Cleave. But normally the Rolling Fireball clears up a significant portion of the board if it's played around that turn 5 spot.
Wow. Viper's whole hand plus a coin with a Twilight Drake in hand just goes into taking out the ambush. But yeah, what real choice did he have in that scenario, right? Thijs, if he wants, can just put him straight back in the same situation.
Yeah, and you've got to say, if Viper just did that, then surely it's just always worth it, right? Because Viper just basically said, I need to play this minion next turn, or I really want to. So then just say, well, now if you play it, your deepest nightmares are coming true.
I think this turn's just dagger. I might be getting greedy here, but I'm really trying to scam a Togwaggle on curve here. I think it's very, very possible. If you dagger up, right, the mage is not going to be removing your evil miscreant this turn. So next turn you can then evolve it and witchy lackey your evolve lackey. And then are they really, with no minion in play, which they won't have, by the way, because you have an ambush token that's going to kill their minion, are they in any way capable of dealing with that board so you can't just jam Togwaggle on curve?
Not realistically, no.
Things changed because we drew Shield and Galakrond, but I think Thijs might have had a piece of that thought in his mind as well.
Yeah, and the things that do clear the board, the strange things, right? Like breath into X. But again, you're not really setting up to deal with that, right?
Right.
Still looking really good for Thijs.
It is. Oh, look at this Evolve Lackey value now.
Huh.
Gotta be.
It's gonna go for it. Okay. I was just for a second there staring at the Kronks.
Yeah, I think, you're certainly going to get Togwaggle into draw 3 at some point, so I think you want to wait and try and draw your Galakrond naturally for a few more turns before you start dropping Kronks.
Plus, and if you told me you were going to get a Yeti, then
exactly.
I would change my decision.
You just have a turn that develops like about equal power on average anyway, right?
Sure.
So it seems fine. Chillwind
Viper
Yeti.
does not.
The card
Viper
from Thijs' competitive era, Raven.
Yeah. No Blizzard, and you just saw the Rolling Fireball means this Yeti is very safe. But are we safe, Sottle? That's my question. Are we safe from having to deal with Yogg boxes?
Yeah, the Dragon Draw. now means for Viper, all things are possible. Quite literally.
And it has to be a box turn because Deep Freeze gets punished so hard by Flick that this isn't even like, oh, why is he playing box? He didn't need to. He has to. If he Deep Freezes and Flick comes down, he just loses the game. Okay, well, that's a lot of cards. Oh, jeez.
My hand is too full.
For some reason, that felt like it cast 100 spells, so not 10. Oh no, that felt like the longest box I've watched for a while. A lot of card draw there from Viper, but I think most importantly, he got to reset the board. He did whiff on the generating a board himself, which is a shame. He did burn his Caligos and now his Malygos, but he does still have more than enough cards to win the game with if he can stop this pressure turns from Thijs.
0 geese available for Viper this game.
Winds of the south, come to my aid.
Thijs knows the Holy Wrath dealt 7, which I'm pretty sure just always means that this card is in hand for Viper, but Thijs just perfectly happy to see it with the power of the turn that he gets out of dropping his Togwaggle.
Yeah, there was very little that could happen that would, I think, make Thijs too upset, really, because Wand is just so good and he's under 0 pressure right now.
I lied! This is Viper! It could have been Antonidas and not Siamat!
That's true.
In a normal mage list, you would know your opponent had Siamat there.
Maybe that's the reason. Playing around to the box, casting Holy Wrath, revealing a 7 cost, and having it to a 1 or the other.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's all coming together.
No real powerhouse draws off the wand here, though, for Thijs. Still no Galakron in sight.
I will act as your
3 invokes down now.
Also, only 2 secrets, I believe, left for Thijs, both of which are the dirty tricks.
Correct, yeah.
choose soon.
But there's always that, although the wand wasn't that powerful, there's always just the fact you drew 3 cards, so you are getting to those powerful cards a little bit quicker anyway. Of course, you would like the big outcomes, but still, digging pretty deep in the deck right now.
Wow, you are leaving some pretty big Conjurer's Calling options for your opponent there. 7-drop in play. And a value trade available. Viper actually did have Conjurer's Calling available and then chose not to go for it. I think Thijs has decided enough is enough. He just wants his Galakron in his hand.
He also has the really good combo, right, of Kronks with Rush Lackey, which is one of the really good ways you can play Kronks as like a plain minion to a certain extent.
Yep. And
why not? Needs the hand space.
fully invoked now based off the previous turn.
Saying that, does he? Oh, okay, yeah, sure. I didn't see the Kobold Lackey. I was working out whether it's actually better to just put a rush on the 1/1, just to trade into the Siamat and maybe go a different route with the Kronks. But he does have that Kobold Lackey to just ping off the Siamat anyway.
Even then, you'd like rush your Mermy or something from hand, right? If you wanted to do that.
Is he considering Dirty Tricks and Bounce? I think as well. But then that does draw more cards, which is what he doesn't want to do if he wants to play Galakron next turn.
Correct.
So,
forcing Viper to take this 3 damage from the Cobalt Sandtrooper. You will take it.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of a scrappy turn there from Thijs, but he does have to make room for this Galakron play next. And the Galakron, as you mentioned, is fully invoked, which means weapon, which means 4 0-cost cards. So I don't mind this. And just a reminder, Thijs still has those Quested Adventurers in his deck. They're still there.
The end is coming!
Oh, we can just bounce the Doomsday, no problemo. Oh.
He can, but there's no real board space right now for Thijs to really be developing a powerhouse turn. Coming off this Galakron drawing the zeros. Alright.
Maybe flick the Doomsayer and then save the secret for Hana next turn? Potentially. Because surely, although the board isn't mega threatening, surely he doesn't want to just give Viper a turn, does he?
Right, it's just like Dragon Queen Alexstrasza go on the other side at that point. Like, that doesn't seem ideal, for sure.
There's a 7-3 Krunks there as well, which, you know, like, needs to be dealt with.
I never lie, but I
Prep Secret Stunner? Interesting, okay.
Wow. All this without the Questing Adventurer.
Mm-hmm. Just rips the eye for an eye. As the Paladin Secret, of course, he might as well because it's free. It's the only way he was really realistically spending one extra mana that turn, so it's just a free effect.
And he gets to re-roll into another secret that isn't a Paladin Secret, which are normally the weaker ones.
And Viper says, no, absolutely not. I will not take that 3 damage from your Cobalt Sand Trooper at any point this game.
give me a
Maybe
quest.
Viper's Conjurer's Corn is finally going to come into play here.
Yeah, I think it's actually a big part of the reason why that dynamic I was talking about happened on the previous turn, where Thijs was happy to leave Conjurer's Calling options for his opponent, and Viper was happy not to use the Conjurer's Calling because he knows how important it can be against big old Edwins and big old Questing Explorers coming down on the other side that he doesn't have any other answer for.
That's it, isn't it? When it goes from specifically Edwin to 3 cards in your opponent's deck you're scared of for that way, I think it is worth considering a lot more.
And even though the Rogue has drawn the customary 7 cards in this matchup from the Togwaggle and the Kronks, Togwaggle and the Galacrond, all of those card draws from Viper on the box turn has meant this is actually still relatively level on fatigue.
There's a huge difference between Rogue having Kronks and not, though, isn't there?
Yep.
I feel like it's the more we watch Rogue, the more we see Kronks as actually the game-winning or game-ending card. Did it just cast an Ice Barrier again?
It did, yeah.
Or is this the game-ending card? Antonidas.
Life and hope of world fighting.
Oh. Wait a minute.
Murazon?
Is that just a... It just plays it normal, doesn't it? It would be funny, though.
I mean, he still gets, like, all the secrets and a bunch of 1/1s and stuff. Like, it's pretty good. It's not a defensive option.
I'm just surprised, though, because Viper didn't go all in on this, but the second he didn't get a dragon that deals with this,
It's pretty all in.
questing, he's
Yeah.
just dead, right?
Yeah, it's pretty all in. So
I mean,
he's
just
at
the fact that Rogue has lackeys means that you're probably just dead from this questing.
14, 16, 17, 20. Yeah, it's like infinite damage. It's so much more than 26.
What about?
Thijs there, just doing his due diligence, just going for the attack that can do the most damage.
You might need that to backstab one of your own guys, Thijs. Not entirely sure. I'm going to trust
Got
you.
a cold blood though.
Yep,
And he can bounce. He can use the Blackjack Stone to bounce one of his own guys.
that's true, yeah.
Maybe
But that's the problem, like, he doesn't have
Wait,
the board.
He can flick his own kobold lackeys.
Flick his own Kobold Lackeys, yeah, sure. Because this is the problem, right? He already missed 1 damage to face by trading a minion. That minion could have gone face, and then he backstabbed his own minion, and that's already 1 extra damage. He does flick his own Kobold
Yes!
Lackeys. This is great.
You need to backstab your own minion, Sol,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, it was just infinity damage. I think Thijs got a little bit messy with how he executed it, but there was so much damage over that it was so
Right.
unlikely to matter at the end. And that, I believe, with a very clean 3-0, now means that Thijs has secured himself a spot in the relegation bracket. Which, if you don't follow GM too closely, and you're from Thijs' stream and he's told you, hey guys, you really want to watch this week because it's super important. Like, my whole fate is decided. Why are we so happy that he's in the relegation bracket? Well, the alternative is that he was instantly relegated with no recourse. So at least now, Thijs still gets to play for his survival in Grandmasters.
Yeah, and once again, it's kind of like we said, right? If we're talking about this match is good for, or today's good for a lot of these players that are in a rough spot because they get to play and win to help impact the outcome of what happens to them. It's the same for relegation. Thijs isn't 100% safe yet, but now he plays next week. And if he wins next week, he is safe because in that relegation bracket, if you win once, you're safe. If you lose, well, it depends where you place there. But basically, from Division B, you need to win. But if you just win that once, you're safe. You're in Grandmasters again, as only one player gets relegated from the relegation bracket. So there's that person who just loses will get chucked out, and the winners all stay. So there's a good chance again that Thijs has all this to do himself for next week. So nice there to see Thijs just pick up a clean 3-0. But honestly, you just can't ignore the strength of the lineup post-ban, right? Thijs just had 3 incredibly strong decks as far as I'm concerned, and they all won. I am not even that surprised. Viper, great player. Thijs, great player. So if you're going to do that, then the strong lineup does win a lot of the time. So that was just our match there, match number 2.